Over the years, I've been fortunate enough to amass a pretty decent Elvis collection. I'm always adding to it. You know, being an Elvis fan, or being an active Elvis fan, is what I consider myself. It means that you're always buying new things. People often ask me, what is your favorite Elvis item? I don't really have one particular favorite item. They all mean little things here and there. It could even be the first album I got, which I'll show you in another time, the first album I ever got. But there's a couple of other things which are pretty cool. As time's gone on, I've totally forgotten which year was this, which year was that. You know, I think I first went to Memphis around about 1983 or 84. And, you know, on my second or third trip sometime in the 1980s, I started to venture into Memphis to try and find places where Elvis had been, you know, something we all do. And Lauderdale Courts was a place that somebody had to go to visit at least once, right? And I think the first couple of times I went to Lauderdale Courts, I couldn't really find the apartment. We had that photograph of Elvis standing like he's pointing a gun. We had that photo, but there were so many parts of Lauderdale Courts that looked like that. I wasn't very sure what his apartment was. So I never did find it. And it wasn't a safe area. I remember going there a few times. One time we went there in a hired car. I remember the name of the car company. It was called Rent-A-Wreck. And it broke down at Lauderdale Courts. We're inside the courts. There was lots of people sitting around drinking liquor from brown paper bags. And the car broke and we popped the bonnet. And a lot of, you know, people came out, hey, what you doing here? And looking at the engine of the car to see if they could figure out what was wrong with it. And I called my friend who I was staying with at the time. His name was Art, and I said, we're broken down at Lauderdale Courts. And he said, y'all boys shouldn't be down there. So anyway, that was funny. There was a few incidences like that where wandering into the courts and getting lost, couldn't find the place. Sometime in the 1990s, I'm not sure when it was, 95, maybe a bit before that, I'm not sure. Anyway, I was in Memphis and I got together with the late Mike Freeman. Mike used to do these walking tours of downtown Memphis. He would take you to the Chisco Hotel and different places like that. The Chisco wasn't open at that time. I said, let's go to Lauderdale Courts. Let's try to find the apartment. We knew the apartment number was 328 and 185 Winchester was the address, so we knew that. But he knew exactly where the house was. It was derelict, empty, nobody was around. Before the renovations, which happened in early 2000s. We go there, we walk into 185 and we walk up the stairs, and if I remember correctly, it was one landing, and there it was, apartment 328. I thought, wow, what are we going to do? Should we try to go inside? Maybe we should go inside. It's not safe. Looking around. We could see the door was slightly ajar. It wasn't padlocked, it didn't look that secure. So we decided to break in, as any good Elvis fan would do. It didn't take a lot of effort. I remember we both pushed up against the door and it just opened. That was it. The door was open. Let's go in. No, I'm scared to go in. Come on, let's go in. Let's not. Yes, let's go in. Let's go in. In we went. We walked in. I remember walking in the little kitchen to the right, with the living room straight ahead. We walked into the living room, and there was an old wooden floor in the living room, and the floor had popped up. It popped. I don't know why, but it popped up. I said, I want to take a piece of that floor. And he said, I want to take a piece of that floor also. So we went over it and we ripped a piece off. And I took it home. Later I put a little plaque on it from Elvis's apartment at Lauderdale Courts. It's got some sticky tar on it here, but this is an original piece of Elvis's floor from the living room at Lauderdale Courts. Pretty much just past the kitchen. So there's no question that Elvis walked on it, Gladys walked on it, Vernon walked on it. I think this is a nice little thing, because it was something that I obtained myself when I got there. And when I went back to Scotland, I was at the airport, and I don't think it was in my bag, or I can't remember why, but the customs guy asked me what this was. And they started smelling this black stuff here, which does look a bit suspicious. He said, what is this? And he's smelling it. And I said, it's a piece of Elvis's floor. So then, of course, I told him the story. He was highly amused, and he let me through. My very first trip to the US was in 1978. I went with my mother. We took a holiday to California and stayed in Los Angeles. When we were there on Hollywood Boulevard, there was a shop, a magazine stand, selling magazines of A Guide to the Stars' Houses, Homes of the Stars or something it was called. So of course I had to get it because I wanted to find Elvis's house in Beverly Hills. And there it was, 1174 Hillcrest, which is an incredible place. There's something about that house that's very, very special. Many, many, many pictures of Elvis taken at that place. And I went there in 1978. And one thing I did do was I took the sign just where it said 1174, it was cracked. So I took it and left it in the glove box of the car that we were renting. So I never did see it again. I remember it being really special, that house. Just had a great feel about it. The whole area just felt great, and it really felt like Elvis had been there. I went again about 10 years ago. Thanks to Marty Lacker, he gave me the directions. I had a long layover at the airport at LAX, so I hired a car and I went there, drove until the flight was ready to go to Memphis. So I drove to the house again about 10 years ago, and it was great. So Lauderdale Courts and 1174 Hillcrest, and something just along the same lines to finish this little video up. My friend Ian Mackay, he went to Elvis's house at Rocca Place and stole the street number. He managed to get inside because they were doing renovations on the house, and he took a couple of light bulbs, and I've got one here that I keep in this little box. It still has all the cobwebs on it. So there's a couple of little cool items. Hope you enjoyed.